I have two readings this morning. One is from one of my essential favorite authors, Nikos Kazantzakis. I want to read the whole prologue to Saviors of God. We come from a dark abyss, we end in a dark abyss, and we call the luminous interval life. As soon as we are born, the return begins. At once the setting forth and the coming back, we die in every moment. Because of this, many people have cried out, the goal of life is death. But as soon as we are born, we begin the struggle to create, to compose, to turn matter into life. We are born in every moment. Because of this, many have cried out, the goal of ephemeral life is immortality. In the temporary living organism, these two streams collide. The ascent toward composition, toward life, toward immortality, the descent toward decomposition, toward matter, toward death. Both from the depths of primordial essence. Life startles us at first. It seems somewhat beyond the law, somewhat contrary to nature, somewhat like a transitory counteraction to the dark eternal foundation. But deeper down, we feel that life is without beginning, an indestructible force of the universe. Otherwise, where did it come from? Where did that superhuman strength come, which hurls us from the unborn and gives us plants, animals, men, women, children, courage for the struggle? But both opposing forces are holy. It is our duty, therefore, to grasp that vision which can embrace and harmonize these two enormous, timeless, and indestructible forces, and with this vision, modulate our thinking and our action. During these sermons, I've been reading a short paragraph that was from some research that was done in the 70s by people who were interested in effective social change. So this is one of those. When an individual becomes conscious of the all-pervading mystery, then every moment becomes a life and death struggle. The person knows loss is a certainty. Nothing the person can ever know or do can compete with the omnipotence which has been encountered. The mystery always wins. This realization of life places the individual in a state of utter impotence, for the all-powerful nature of the deep mystery of existence is not an abstract attribute, but a concrete fact of existence. Okay, so this is another in a series of sermons in which I'm working on trying to take a fresh perspective to look at social issues. And I've kind of developed a little format for these. And the format goes like this. The fresh perspective is a new context for looking at current social issues. And that new context is what I've been calling the other world. That is to say, that realm that is not defined by the facticity of our everyday existence, but is rather the place where care and where consciousness and where mystery and where deep tranquility overflow the experience of everyday existence. It's from that realm that I'm trying to look at what it means to be a responsible citizen in the 21st century. Today, I want to focus on the questions that are raised by healthcare and how we take care of ourselves physically, and most specifically by questions around the cost and paying for and providing health care to a complete society. I still want, just a minute, I'm taking a pause. Hold on, it just won't go to what I wanted to do. I'm taking a pause, just a minute. Okay, now we'll see. So, excuse me but I'm trying some technology here. Now, let me just stay at the very start. I love life. Life is a great thing, and I hope to live forever, but I know I won't, and I know you won't either. That's the reality. But life is a great thing. The second thing, making money is important. We live in a world where people get paid for doing work that they do. That's important. And there's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with businesses and organizations that make money. They have to make money. That's what we've decided. Now, that being said, the question arises how we responsibly deal with our health care in the environment that we live in the 21st century. So the format that I've been using for the last several sermons is that I kind of look at this in 4 different ways. The first thing, I try to understand what's going on in the 21st century that's unique to the 21st century. Then I try to stand in the world, in what I call the other world, the realm of mystery, the realm of care, and ask, what does life look like from that perspective, honestly? And then to come back from there, because you cannot live forever in the other world. You must come back to this world. Come back and ask, how does that affect how we exist in this world? And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about how does a small group of 25 or however many people are counted as this congregation, or however many people are watching this, how does a small group of people actually make a difference? So those are the 4 parts. So healthcare. I'm talking today about healthcare, very specifically about healthcare, which with the COVID-19 virus being a global phenomenon has become a real issue. It's much more on our minds than ever before. As you know, I've lived in all kinds of social environments. I've lived in small rural villages in India where I had the only motorized vehicle. Well, my neighbor had a motorcycle. And I've lived in big cities. I've lived in Chicago, Bombay. I've lived in big cities, little cities, villages, and I've met people of all economic statuses. And their relationship to how to take care of health varies widely. One of the things that always struck me when you would go to dinner in a village woman's house, in a village home in India, is the woman would always ask you how you were feeling. I've got an upset stomach, a little nervous. And the questions that she was asking were because she was going to adjust the spices in the food to help you in your physical journey. I know, I finally figured that out. Now, that's one way of taking care of health, and that's an important way. But as we moved into the 21st century and into our current time, that village system of health is neither adequate nor the prevalent form of taking care of health. There's a big industry, and it costs a lot of money to run a hospital. Just to build the building costs a lot of money to run the building. Our health industry costs money to run. And we all participate in that. Now the questions become, how do we cover the costs of participating in a healthcare system that has gone well beyond the ability of onesie-twosie paying? And it's not just adjusting spices in the food. One of the things that happened, as I understand it, in the 50s was that the governmental structures were concerned about salaries rising too much. So one of the things they did was they allowed employers to give health benefits instead of raising wages. So that helped precipitate a whole industry of employer-funded healthcare systems. So in one way, and I've had some friends, I have two friends that are UPS truck drivers. They drive the big double trailer trucks to Bristol and back. So in one way, every time you order a package from Amazon and that it arrives in a UPS truck or FedEx or whatever, you have paid into that truck driver's healthcare fund. You've helped subsidize his insurance because Amazon's not stupid, they make money. UPS isn't stupid, they make money. And they pay into their employer health funds. Every time you pay your county taxes or your state taxes, it goes into the school system taxes and pays for some of the teachers. Now the difficulty has become what to do with all the people that fell through those cracks, that either work part-time, unemployed. So now the system we built is beginning to have cracks in it. And the question that we have now is, how do we deal with the people that fell through the cracks? And we can't just say, go away. I have no idea what's happening with all the people who are on ventilators in hospitals. Somebody has to pay the bill, even if the hospital's generous and writes off a bunch. And the second thing we have is incredibly high costs, especially at end of life. I have a friend who's been diagnosed with cancer and being treated for cancer. The medication is $12,000 a month. $12,000 a month. Now, out of that person's checkbook comes zero. That person is paying nothing per month. Somebody's paying. How do we make these decisions? This raises a whole realm of big questions. How do we pay for healthcare insurance in the 21st century? That's where the question comes. One of the ways, there's two kinds of ways this comes, in my opinion. Who pays for what and how? And how long is enough? How long do we continue to pay for a person to be on high cost medication? How long do we continue to pay for a person to lay in a hospital expensive bed? And the answer is, well, don't make the hospital charge anything. That's a silly answer. All these things cost money. And who pays for the person who's picking the asparagus, who came up from Mexico, and they're picking asparagus in some field in Indiana, and they get sick and they don't have insurance and they go to the hospital? We say, oh, tough luck. These are all hard questions that cannot be just ignored. The question is, where do you stand to answer these hard kind of questions? the reading, Kazantzakis, both of the readings this morning that I read previously are readings about mystery. How do you deal with the mystery of life? And fundamentally, these healthcare questions are a question about dealing with final mystery, big mystery, deep mystery, real unknown, life and death. These are real, very, very, very real. Now, there's two ways to kind of play like, well, these aren't real problems. One is to what I call liberalism. Well, you pick a good value. You pick a value and you kind of trump that value, like be nice or kindness or love. All of those, well, that's a good value. And I got nothing against kindness. I got nothing against love. But you can't just play a good value card here. And the other way is what I call emotionalism. Oh man, I'm worried stiff. So then you try to be unworried, or you just say, well, you should be happy all the time. You should be happy. So you pick a good emotion and you try to use emotion to overcome the fact that you're staring the mystery straight in the face. No. The new answer for the 21st century is going to come from people who are able to stare the mystery in the face and say, I see you, mystery. I know it's unknown. I know this is hard. You are not going away. So I'm a big proponent of you decide. You decide. But in the face of mystery, it seems like, well, you don't have much decision. But you do. And what we have to learn is how to make decisions in the face of real, deep mystery. Getting around the reality of death there is no option. It will happen. But we can learn to make decisions in the face of death. I've been involved in 2 automobile accidents that were bad, like upside down. The car was upside down in a creek of cold water bad. And I stepped off of a moving train, also bad. I'm still here. I'm preaching today. So I know about death that comes unexpected. Bang-o, slam-o, a car hits you. That's one kind of death. There's another kind of death that comes. I've watched my father die. I watched my mother die. I watched both Elaine's parents die and several others. I know about making decisions in the face of death. One of the things that's amazed me in watching both my mother and Elaine's mother and Annette Bingham, a very good friend of mine, is all 3 of those women died after their children had left the room. Then they died. That's timing. There is a learning to be willful in the face of death. That's a skill that can be learned. It's not a skill that can be learned, but it is it's a quality of living in the face of mystery. So we have to shift the question from everybody lives all the time to we live, with mystery as a friend. And once you get beyond the wall that tries to keep mystery out of life, there's a whole new freedom. And this has two big impacts. One, your fear goes out the window because you've made peace with mystery, which is real. And the second is that life becomes full again because there is no fear. There is no, you're not vulnerable anymore because you've already given credence to the wonder and the mystery, which is life itself. And there is wonder and mystery in life all the time, every moment. That's it. And once you've gotten past phony emotions and liberal values to say mystery is real, then you can live anew. And once you get there, then you can come back and start to answer some of the hard questions about health and healthcare and well-being, and at a social level for the global scale in the 21st century. But until you've wrestled face to face with mystery, you're just patching things up. So practically, what does it mean? Structures. I've made a big point in all of the recent sermons about structures. Healthcare in the 21st century is being done structurally. And we need to make sure that we're building structures that are inclusive and are equitable and provide for everyone in a positive way. And this is I don't know if you've ever tried to read the explanation of benefits that comes from your insurance companies on a monthly basis. I guess it comes to everybody. Mine comes once a month, EOB, explanation of benefits. Oh, they're crazy. This is going to take all of us some creative thinking to figure out new ways to balance this system out for both this country, and then when you think about, okay, now we got to include Yemen, and you start to think about questions like, okay, so say we get a COVID virus, so say we get a vaccination. How's that going to be distributed? What's the structure for distributing the COVID vaccination? Then, second, we need to find ways to be exceedingly clear about end of life questions as a society. This is very, very difficult. This became a big sticking point in the whole sorting out the Affordable Care Act. How long is enough is a question. Getting this sorted out as a society on an objective basis and individually. I've often mentioned my father in this regard. My father was a dialysis patient. He had renal failure when he was 55. He spent 10 years on dialysis. One morning he woke up and told my mother, one Wednesday morning he woke up, told my mother that he thought Friday would be a good day to go to the hospital and stop dialysis. Well, you don't have to be a PhD in renal technology to know that was the end. He went to the hospital on Friday, laid down in a bed, and died on Monday. That's a decision. That's a decision. That's a big decision. I looked at my brother, and afterwards. I said, you and I've got big shoes to step into there. The third, we've got to get beyond, there's a theological question here. We got to get beyond this, God is in charge. Let's get clear, mystery is mystery, and this is unknown, and this is not completely in any one person's hands. But we will get nowhere in this conversation when people say, well, God decides everything. So we cannot live with that mantra. As a society, that mantra will break the bank, it's false, and it does not provide us with a creative response to the needs that we're facing. Now, first of all, it's not true. But what's the alternative statement is also not intuitively obvious. In one way, what we want to say is we all participate in making these decisions. But how we participate in that, wow. And there's people who are listening to this, Rita and Linda, and the ones of you that have worked with hospice, you all know some of this. And it's important, and there's great wisdom around about this kind of stuff. But we need to figure out ways to take it to the social, to the societal wide and global planetary level. It becomes really complex. And then finally, in this column, we need to learn how to talk and share about these kind of things. These are conversations that are incredibly difficult to have. We do not have the language. We do not have the poetry. We do not have the ontology, the big picture scheme of history of the universe, the picture of how the universe works. The pictures we have of God's angel reaching down and pulling your soul up and taking it to heaven, and all those kind of pictures, those pictures aren't helpful to us anymore. But the new pictures are not there either, and we don't have those pictures. And this is therefore problematic. So learning how to talk about these things, these matters, are difficult. And that's where a group like our congregation, the Unitarian Universalists in Covenant, this is where we have a contribution to make. Now, we're not going to solve this in 10 minutes. We're not going to solve it in a year. But we can start. And it will start the newness, the new world, the new coming out of this on the other side, the return from having stared mystery in the face and not backed off 1 inch. There's some great stories in the spiritual literature of people who wrestled with the mystery. And the key in all of those is they never gave up. They stared it right in the face and said, by golly, I'm going to wrestle. Now, the mystery always wins, but it's important to wrestle with mystery to the hilt. Once we've done that, then congregations like ours, any congregation of people who are serious about building the future from the place of having affirmed the mystery of life at the depths, we can start to have those conversations with each other and with our friends. Being honest with each other. Learning to be able to know, to ask questions. Among us men, question is, what's your PSA? Well, I don't know. Well, you should, you should know. Women, it's CA 125. And yeah, don't say I don't know those things. You need to know. And if you got other medical problems, we need to learn to talk somewhat objectively, well, real objectively, and then understand that while dealing objectively at this level, there's this swirling of mystery down here that is equally as real and every bit as important. And we need to try to understand then how we as a group are caring for each other. Rita mentioned when we talked about the offering about this, the group's chalice fund in the time of the COVID virus. And it's very important that, we're trying to make sure that everybody gets food on their table and their rent, a house, a roof over themselves. Preferably, on a hot day, they can turn on their air conditioning and afford that. It becomes a bigger question when we ask about health care, because the numbers get bigger, or can get bigger, and can get bigger quickly. But that too can be added to the conversation that we have. And one of the great gifts of this congregation is we have set up a structure that's affirming of everybody. It allows for the fact that not everybody has the same amount of money. Some people have, some people don't. That's okay. We're not passing judgment. We're allowing people to participate, but together we can be stronger than any one of us together. That's the importance of structures, and finding out how to build structures that care is the important gift that a congregation like ours needs to make. Then, once we've had those conversations among ourselves, and we've gotten some finesse, some confidence, some familiarity, then the harder question is to begin the public discourse. And the public discourse takes place in a couple of kinds of ways. At the ballot box, it takes place marching on the streets, but it also takes place in private conversations, learning to talk to our friends, figuring out ways to help people understand the complexities of life in the 21st century in a new way. Finding out what are those nuggets that we can say to people. One of the things I've tried to say to everybody, COVID-19 is real. Just saying that to the bank manager, the lady at the store, anybody, you know, that kind of lets them take a step, because there are some people giving them the message that COVID-19 is a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's not a hoax. And if you and I can just little things, and we should share among ourselves, what are the little things that you can say to anybody? Wear a mask. It's okay. What are the little things that may spark a deeper conversation, but may just not spark a deeper conversation, may just get passed off? But you can't start by walking into the grocery store and say, I'd like to read Kazantzakis. We come from a dark abyss, we go to a dark abyss, and we call the luminous interval life. That's not where to start with the grocery clerk. Well, it might be, but probably not. But what are the little things that we can learn to say? And then finally, and by finally, I mean I'm at the bottom fourth corner of my boxes. What we as a congregation can do can build new ways to celebrate life and death. as real, as gift, as affirmation of the mystery which is ever present in everybody's life. It was present 4 centuries before humans became conscious. It was there for the dinosaurs. This mystery is ever present, has been there, and always will be, and will not go away. Mystery won't go away. But you and I can learn to live with mystery. We can celebrate mystery, and we can help others celebrate mystery. And one of the important ways we can do that is by singing, which is incredibly difficult over Zoom. But during this last hymn, try to sing to yourself on mute. And we'll continue to work on that, because song is one of the things that will get us through into the rest of the 21st century. Thank you.